now we're looking to clad the steps in the same way as I've done these, using these 50 by 25mm Slater's lap treated timbers. So looks at different options here. What I'm going to do is take off this bottom rail, and I'm going to use these to clad and hide the edge of the steps. So they're literally going to terminate at the end of the riser and go the full length over to here, journey onto this timber. And what I've realised is 4 of these pretty much aligns with the sort of each step. So I should be able to hopefully avoid lengthways cutting and get 4 with a decent sort of gap. It might not be exactly 9mm, and clad these. The first thing I need to do though is fix some more vertical rails, or vertical posts, sorry, down in here for me to fix these 2. So it'll be vertical post off each of these steps, and then it'll be the same mesh as I used on that one, which you can see on another video. Okay, so I'm about to start cladding across the steps to match the piece behind. So I've just put in some treated timbers, making sure that at the end of each step, obviously there's a support. So we'll have the 50 by 25mm slats going across like this. I've made it luckily so that it'll be 4 slats per step, if you like, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's doing these little lengthways cuts. I'm going to have the same detail on the top done over there, so there'll be one that covers in case the boards aren't exactly cut straight and things, it will be hidden. And this is a nice solid basic frame, so I can hammer into it with the nails. Okay, so that section with the steps is now complete in terms of the cladding on this side. So now I've just got to fix the top slats. So to cover up, as you see, the top, you can move these, you can undo the clips and move these across a bit, but I haven't really bothered too much because I'm going to do the same as I've done over there and have a top little section that will go on the top here, and we'll just hide all the fixings and these edge details and stuff. So that'll be a little section on the top. But as with elsewhere, just straightforward annular shank nails, and then use a little punch to make sure they're driven well home, making sure I've got plenty of sort of verticals so all the slats are well fixed, so when we kick footballs against it and stuff it's good and solid. And then we'll move on to the door. So now I'm just looking at how to sort of cover up the edge gaps and these sort of details here around here. So just looking at some different options. Up here I've done it with the actual sort of chamfer, the mitre coming across the top here, but I think that's going to let water penetrate in. I don't think that looks a bit messy. I'm also having to do little sort of notch cuts just to make sure it's all nice and flush as you're walking up, so it all looks nice and neat, there's not too many gaps. But I think I'm going to go for this sort of option. So I think I'm going to have this one fixed in with a nice mitre to shed water, and then a simple vertical there. Just so that when you, I am going to nail these just with 2 nails, same as the other nails, into this top one. But obviously as you're nailing down, this is viable to move. So I'm just using a little spacer. This is just a bit of 6mm timber, so I'll put that in between when I nail that down. I'll also pilot hole the top one, so I'll drill 2 holes just pretty much the width of the nail, and the penetration of the angular nail will just go into that one, so I'm not having to hit this too hard. Okay, so the steps are now done. That's how they look. The cladding, so I think that's fairly neat. It'll all weather in nicely. It's all fixed good and solid. That'll be good. So now I'm on to the next gate. So in this big opening here, I'm going to make, basically it'll be clad across the top to the depth of the main sort of joist going across that way. That'll be clad. Then there'll be a big gate underneath. So for that, in terms of hinges, I'm going to use these big medium T hinges, galvanised. So they are very good in terms of external use, they won't rust or anything. And these are 450mm long, so they're big enough to take a gate up to 1.35, and my gap's about 1.2 metres, so I'm going to hang that off this side here. Previously I've pecked away with my sort of SDS the concrete off that one, so the next job is just chipping away the concrete off here to make sure I can have the gate to the full width down to the ground, making sure I don't accidentally peck through the protection sort of bitumen seal, which is in another video I've got on my post protectors. I don't want to damage that. So we'll start this bit now. The same process of cladding these, but I'll keep you in the loop as I do it. Alright, so I've done the step section, so now I'm just going to carry on cladding this area where I want the door, so we'll come to that in a minute. But this top section, again, I just want the horizontals 9mm apart, same as I did over there. On that one, I left the joists, they came out a bit proud, and I'd used the universal clips to hold the composite prime. On review, I could have used a starter clip and cut the joists off over there, but that's fine, that's fine. On this one, I'm just cutting off the joists flush with the edge of this board so that I can clad in the same alignment all the way down, and then make the door hopefully sit in here as well, so they're all flush. So I'm just sawing this off. Ideally I'd have a reciprocating saw, but with cables in the way and other things, and I haven't actually got one, I'm just using my multi-tool just to slice through these joists, then I'll treat them, then I'll clad them. So on the stair section, the gap between them was 6mm as opposed to 9, just to make it work without cutting based on the height of the steps. So what I've realised is I'm going to match that on this one, so I've just made myself some little 6mm spacers, some little strips of wood, so I'll use these ones this time. I've made sure the top one is bob on level, that's fixed now. I'm just working out how I'm going to make the pattern match because they don't quite align, so I'm going to have to cut lengthways one of the top ones to make them match across to the steps, so a bit more tricky, but it'll be worth doing. So as you can see, I sliced this one lengthways so it matches and aligns, so my pattern repeats across here. And in terms of how I'm putting these up, I've got these 6mm little spacers. So I cut my length, treat the end, and just balance one of those at one end, get another one, balance it at the other end, hold it tight, get a nail, push it in, line down, get a nail, line it up, try and make them nice and neat. And then you can just go along, move your little spacer along, do your next one, move your spacer along, do your next one, and then use your little punch just to sink them home nice and deep. So just in terms of working out where my gate is going to go and how it's going to swing, so I want the gate to swing from this side, and it's going to be the whole width of this space. And it's going to swing out. I'm still going to have my slide here, so it's going to swing out to the edge of the slide. So I've just been working out where my hinge is going to go. And what I realised is if I just fix it to the post on the inside of here, as it opens with the timber on the outside, let's say it's that way round, it would have clashed this. It wouldn't have been able to open unless I start mitering and all sorts of stuff. So all I've done is fixed another timber here. The benefit of that as well is the post itself wasn't actually perfectly plumb vertical, so by fixing this post to the other post to hang the hinge on, that's now bang on vertical, which should help things, and it's the right thickness so that this will now be able to swing all the way open. If I get rid of the slide in the future, the gate will be able to open all the way. So I'll have 2 of these hinges. They will screw through this timber, deep into this timber with some really decent big screws. And then as I did on the other gate on another video, this will have a vertical slat on the back of this hinge. And then the horizontal slats with 6mm spacing going across the front. And I'll position it so these holes align beautifully with one of those slats. And then I'll put a diagonal to brace everything and stop the gate sagging. So that's that. Okay, so in terms of this door or gate here, I'm just sort of making the basic frame, just checking everything's going to fit. So mine's going to be hinged on this side. using these 450mm hinges. They will be rebaited into here. So I fixed the post here. And I'm just making sure the frame, the overall door frame fits. And then once I've positioned all the timbers on, the horizontals, I've got a horizontal, an angled one to brace them. And on this side I'm making sure it's set about a centimetre back so that acts as a slam plate onto the post. So in terms of the gate or door build, starting at the top, I've worked out exactly where my hinge can go in relation to the frame and where fixings are in the frame. So the hinge goes this way round so that this bit sits flush into the frame, and I've clamped it between these two bits of wood in order to get that screw position. Obviously turned it over and offered up the hinge, drilled through so I could see where to put the screw, and then these are the screws that came with it, fixed in, and I'm using my 6mm spacers as before. So here we go, the gate, the door is pretty much made, all the slats are in, the hinges are in. I just offered it up, it fits perfectly, so now I'm just fixing the diagonal. Just made sure I got it perfectly sort of square to the frame. So then I'm just putting a long piece of timber, and then to get the angle right, just do a little mark on one side, a little mark on the other side, and then I can draw a line between and saw that off, and then screw that into the back, and it'll stop the gate from sagging. Okay, so here's the gate, that's the hinge side, with the diagonal on, ready to hang. Okay, so I've done the stairs, the door section. Now this little section where the slide normally lives, I'm just going to panel this area off. In the future I could create a doorway into here, but for now I'm going to remount the slide so you can't really access it. You could possibly store some bits in there if I move the cement mixer out of the way, but I'm just going to store a load of old rubble here. You can't take it to the tip without getting charged, so I'll just pile it under here. We do have a hedgehog house under the deck, so I have left, deliberately I'm going to leave a gap so the hedgehog can make its way through to its little hedgehog house. And I've just used some old timber, I've retreated them. I've got the post there, I'm going to just make sure I hit my nails in at the right angle, and I've put a brace support across the bottom that's held in with big coach bolts, so that the bottom of the post is staying steady. And now I'll just fit my slats. So that's the last section on. That's just panelling out a blank area. So it's all nailed on. It's got 3 nails in each slat. They are annular nails, so they got good sort of resistance to being pulled out. They're only tapped in to hold it at the moment. I'm now just going to do the punch. So I'd recommend driving them home deeper with a punch. So it normally takes sort of 4 or 5 hits, and you just literally now just go around going, and then they're driven home nice and secure and nice and deep. This is a very cheap and easy way. These are going to be my little toggles to stop the doors opening. So very, very simple. Just a little bit of wood. I'm just going to sand quickly. I've just sanded off the edges very simply, drilled a hole in the middle, pretty much slightly larger than the screw you're going to use. Stainless steel screw, little washer on the back, and then all I'm doing is a simple bit of wood. Just rub it on a bit of sandpaper, just to take the sharp edges off a bit. And just neaten it up, make it look a bit like it's a real thing. And then you simply fix that to one of the doors or the walls, whichever one's fixed, and that will act to hold the door or the gate in the closed position. And I will just stick a bit of preservative on these, a bit of wood stain once I've finished them. Let that settle in. So then just simply drill a hole in the centre, and then I drop my screw, pop the screw through, stick a washer on it. And there we go, we'll have a little toggle. So I'll go and install that and then show you that. There we go, there's the little simple toggle. So simply rotate it and your door opens. And then this one again, simply rotate it. Obviously you can buy off-the-shelf fixings, but that's all right. And all this I'm going to paint grey, anthracite grey, to match the sort of sheds in the office at the other end that I built. Okay, and there it is, it's all finished. So optional slide, that was there before, we put that back. So I'll just take you through the finished product. So I am going to paint it all anthracite grey, but for now we've obviously got this little door with these little bespoke catches. There's that one there. And then over this way, next to the slide, there's this one. This gives me access under the deck. There's all sorts of, there's a cement mixer, there's roof boxes, there's timber. That panel over there, there's a hedgehog hole to let the hedgehog through. And obviously the step detail here. Yeah, so it's all finished.